Hello everyone, so today I'm going to bring a Sandman guide. So this is going to be pertaining to doing Campanella Extreme Solo, as well as other content within the game solo. So this is going to be his damage variant setup. I will do a separate video if people are interested on the pure support version, but you can also play this in multiplayer, feeling that supportive role, but providing damage at the same time. This is going to be what we use in what I personally use when solo speedrunning a Sandman. We have a little bit of different variant that we run in multiplayer, and by we I mean Dippets McKenzie. He is the Sandman that we usually play with when we play our speedruns and get world record times. He is, and I can hands down say this after playing with a lot of the good Sandmans, he is the best Sandman that there is out there. Any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I can relay them back to him and get you answers, or he can answer himself. But that being said, this is what I ran in that clear that you saw on the extreme run. It's a skill power based build. He has various things that are big positives to him, and things that can be seen as negatives as well, depending on the scenario that you're in. But to start with, we're going to go over his starting relics. So as you can see, we've got critical power shield. Because Sandman can start with a crasher shotgun, this is a massive boon to his consistency. And the crasher shotgun gives 100% crit after firing, letting us take good use of these critical damage relics. Because he also can shield himself with power shield, he can have almost 100% uptime on this whenever he wants it for his burst windows. We also got to use Mercy. Mercy is the best attack power relic in the game. It's easy to stay at 100% health, just don't get hit smile. No, but because of different various ways of healing, different things you can take in your tree to really reduce the amount of damage you're taking, or taking damage at all. The bosses are going to be CC'd, you're going to be one-phasing them with like each sound snipe pretty consistently. It's so this is just hands down an easy to use massive power advantage. When you're not taking it, you're only doing yourself an injustice. I recommend really farming it out and finding it. We're going to take Convergent Energy Skill Module. This is 100% skill power, consumes 5% coins unheld on skill use. There should be a bracket on the end, 3-second cooldown. After every skill use isn't true. So basically, you're gonna fire your sand. You're gonna power shield yourself. It'll use the coins. Then you're gonna throw your nade and sand snipe. It's like, it's only gonna take the coins for the power shield because it's still gonna be on cooldown. But it's giving you 100% skill power, which is the same as if you took a tier 3 relic called Exerium Power Chip. This is a lot of damage to be able to just have for free. Then I cap it out by using bonus coin. This is just so I have a little bit more money in the run. Stop any of that little leaking that Convergent Energy Skill Module does kind of cause, as well as give us more money to be able to like roll shops, buy relics, buy weapons, etc. Because of the fact that you're able to utilize stuff like Critical Power Shield. Other fourth relic options that are out there is you'll be able to throw in another Critical Power Magazine, or you can throw a Critical Box. If you're doing something like Seasonal, you can drop the Convergent Energy Skill Module that you see up here in favor for Medal of Growth. This will give you more scaling through the run, help you reach those attack power caps, as well as giving you another avenue to be able to find the skill module within your run. But in Extreme, we would not take Growth, we would stay using the skill module. Moving over to relic drop rates, you're going to see a pattern with the sort of relics that we're keeping inside our top percentiles, as well as relics that you're going to see down here that are in the low. So we have our skill powers. This is a skill-based build. We want our skill power relics. We have our critical damage relics. We're going to be using crashes. We're going to be able to utilize this as much as possible. And then we're going to want some attack power relics, as attack power is a very important stat. I have a video on here breaking down the damage calculations in the game. Please refer back to that if you wish to know why attack power is so important. But for just a quick cliff note, attack power is at the start of every calculation. The more attack power you have, the more valuable other stats will then look and become. We then want some cooldown reduction, as the biggest limiting factor in any skill build is going to be your cooldowns. You can get these through various different relics. These are just the most important free in here. I don't know why this is all the way over here, but recharge, we want some flat cooldown, or you want these relics that reduce it by doing certain things. Hitting an enemy with a skill is quite easy as Sandman. Status effect target, we want our global multipliers. The more statuses you have active on a targets, the more damage this is going to give you. So if you have 50% from your petrify, then you're going to have like say a poison or a bleed reactor active on the boss. This is going to then be 50%, 100%, 150%. In Extreme, in solo, you're not really going to get use out of these reactors, but these are here for when we do multiplayer things. So I just can't be bothered to swap my relics around 24/7, so these are here just for consistency. But ideally, you can drop these reactors out if you're playing solo and put in some more stuff like Power Box or Skill Amp Mag, or even some things like Weak Spot. These are all good things that you could put up here. Any of these global multiplier relics or cooldown relics or crit damage relics are great replacements for these reactors that you see. Then we're going to move over to our skills. So Sandman's biggest bang for his buck is going to come from his Sand Snipe. So we're starting with the 100%, 1.5 times Petrified duration. This will allow us to keep bosses CC'd for longer, but also because it reduces defenses by 100%. This is big. So enemies have defense values much like the Breakers do. A lot of the later bosses also have effects that increase their defenses for a short period of time. This being stuff like Protean Beast. They have a lot of super armor mechanics. They have a lot of mechanics where they just generally don't take much damage during them, and you can't status them during them, so usually you'd want to skip those, which is why the CC is helpful. I have a video explaining transitions and how to skip them as well, and I would recommend referring back to that too. Aside from that, for the damage reasons, we're going to take the Petrify. It's going to be more painful if you don't ever see this in comparison to the other upgrades that you see in here, but you're going to hope to find stuff like the 100% damage it towards petrified targets. This is going to be your biggest global multiplier as Sandman. This is going to be very helpful and lead to your burst. You're going to want to find the extra projectiles. This is just basically timesing your damage by 2, because you're having 2 extra hits from the same skill. And then you want the 100% skill power. These are the most important 4. And the cooldown's really nice and will be helpful too, but it's not that impactful in comparison to the other options for Sand Snipe. Ideally, you would have every Sand Snipe option by the end of your run, but that's not a perfect world. So in those scenarios where you're only going to be able to have to choose to give up one or the other, always prioritize the extra snipes, then prioritize the petrify damage, and then prioritize the skill power damage, and then lastly prioritize the cooldown. Moving over to our next best things, we want to be finding in a single player setting 100% critical damage for our power shield. Again, we're going to be utilizing our Crasher, so being able to have more critical damage is very, very impactful. Then we want to come over and get more shield effect. This isn't as important, but it lets us just keep our shields up for longer. Which means we'll be able to use those buff windows more often. Cooldown's nice. If you're in a multiplayer setting, this is clutch, as this means now all those benefits that you're getting from being able to shield yourself, as in being able to utilize critical power shields, Relic, you're now being able to help your allies with, and this is why you see in any of the screenshots that we do for speedrunning in Extreme, you'll notice that we, as junglers, also have critical power shield on. That's because we're hoping that the Sandman finds this to help us maintain that buff. These other options aren't important. I will give a disclaimer here as well, as it might be confusing to some people. The effects that are translated when you have this upgrade to your allies, all they get is the weapon power, the increased weapon power by 50%, and the shield value. The shield value is based on Sandman's maximum HP. So they're not going to get the 100% crit damage, for example. They're not going to get the recover 10 HP, but 10% HP when activating shield. They're just going to get the weapon power and the shield value, but that's all that they care for. But in solo runs, you want the crit damage, and you want it to last longer, and then you want the cooldown, but prioritize any Sand Snipe upgrade over these, for example. Coming over to grenade. So the grenade upgrades, there is actually a couple in here that are impactful and very useful to get. The first being the 100% duration and the 25% damage to enemies inside the effect. This is a global multiplier. This is basically like turning your grenade into a gold tooth. This is really strong. So you would throw this at the enemy, and then you would smack it with your Sand Snipe, big crit from having your shield up and having the Crasher crit up. So by doing that, you'll have big bang and you'll be able to one-tap some boss health bars. If you manage to find the +2 grenades plus the 300% skill power for Tornado, and then you can manipulate yourself in ways where you can have all the grenades kind of like bunch up and hit in the boss at the same time, your grenades will now suddenly become as powerful as your Sand Snipes. These are great things to really take advantage of, and it's kind of hard to get these scenarios going, but there's various ways that you can do this, and that's by having a boss near a wall, so the nades will like hit the back wall and explode instantly, or having a large enough boss where you'll be able to like clip yourself inside the hitbox and hit. all those nades. I hope that makes sense. You don't care for weapon power in this build, so you don't really care for this. I don't like the fact that this can petrify anyway, because it can mess up your CC chains, as you'll be throwing your nades for damage and then suddenly CC the boss by accident and mess up your entire rotation. The cooldowns are nice to be able to do it more often. But yeah, moving over to the slow dodge upgrades. Sandman has a problem where his dash cooldown is the longest in the game, and he only has 2 charges. So what we personally want to find here, and this is only flavor, this isn't required, I would prioritize any of the power shield upgrades I've previously mentioned, any of the sand slime upgrades, and any of the nade upgrades over any of these in a solo setting. But we would like to find the instant reload. This lets us maintain our buffs on our crashes by using the critical power magazines when we find them. As well as we want to find the cooldown stuff. The cooldown stuff is very useful as we'll be able to dash more often, which means we'll be able to utilize the CC from our dash to catch boss frames. And this is important because the time between dash hitting and the CC applying is much shorter than your sand snipes. So this means you'll be able to catch them as early as possible and really take advantage of those animations when you see them and get good at recognizing these attack animations. Moving over to weapon, of course we want the Crasher. The Crasher gives us 100% crit after firing. It's the best in the game. And for skin, this is an important one, and I have to include this because if Dip sees this, then he has to know you're going to have to go with the white helmet, then you're going to switch to the lime glow, and then you're going to switch your shoulder pads over to the cyber shoulders, and now, well done, you're now a resident trash man. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been insightful. Toy worker stuff is the same as usual, where it's either going to be Goldhound or Medic V2. It's just a matter of preference. And then your seasonal upgrade tree, ideally you'd have everything maxed out, but you work for resource nodes, and then you work for getting your gain shield, and then you go into offensive tree, and you get that stuff situated as possible. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, or anything of that nature that pertains towards Sandman, please include it into the comment section. I'll try and get back to you. I can try and get Dip's insight if he might have a different answer for it. But yeah, see you in the next one.